We are going to make a bold prediction for October. And the prediction is that Bitcoin will reach $40,000. Now, I think this only has like a 30% chance of happening, but I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction anyways, because I think there's like a 25-30% chance that we get an ETF this month. Why? Because of grayscale. I've mentioned this before, multiple times actually. We know that the grayscale decision, the SEC has to do something about it on October 13th. Now, you might be saying, they rejected all those other ETFs. Well, didn't reject. They delayed all those other ETFs. Why won't they just delay this one? They kind of can, but this one is actually different from all the other ones. How is that different? Well, this one's actually a court order. Because remember, the SEC lost the case against grayscale. The court just said, yeah, you can't just reject them for whatever reason that you find. You actually have to give a legitimate reason. I'm not really sure if the SEC actually found a legitimate reason, so the SEC has three options. They can approve the ETF, which is what I hope they'll do, because if they do, we are going to 40,000. They can find another BS reason to reject it. This one probably has something to do with custody if they do. And they could just say, we refuse Coinbase custody or whatever, because the custody part is what differentiates a spot ETF from a futures ETF. I think they'll actually take that option, or they can actually approve the ETF, which is what they should do. But the SEC is not very good at doing what it actually should do. So my guess is they are going to reject the ETF again based on some kind of custody BS. And of course, they'll get sued again, and they'll probably lose again in court. They could also appeal, but in an appeal, you can't add any extra evidence. And since the appeals judge basically said, since you don't have any evidence, you lose the case, the Supreme Court or a full panel court would probably decide the same. Appeals rarely work in cases like this, and I don't think the SEC is going to appeal. And now, I really, really hope they just approve, because if they approve next Friday, October 13th, I think that will start a run. If they approve the grayscale ETF, it is very, very possible that in the next following couple of weeks, they will approve all those ETFs. I think the BlackRock one would actually bring in the most money, because obviously the most customers are with BlackRock and Fidelity. And BlackRock, I think, has been secretly buying BTC on the side. I do actually think BTC slowly going up the last couple of weeks might actually have something to do with BlackRock and Fidelity starting to accumulate Bitcoin. Now, let me actually explain this, because remember, the SEC actually called for a meeting of all the ETF people, which is something they actually haven't done before. And the price started going up slowly after that announcement. So something might have actually happened that the SEC basically just signaled that, hey, we're going to approve an ETF soon. Now, soon can mean anywhere between a couple of weeks and a couple of months. You have X amount of days to actually accumulate the BTC to support your ETF. Go get them. Now, they're not going to buy off the open exchange, obviously, and shoot the price straight up. They're going to buy off OTC. But BlackRock and Fidelity, in preparation to getting these ETFs, are probably buying massive amounts OTC, more than the OTC market can handle. And when you do that, what happens is that the OTC market starts drying up and the prices do start going upward. I really can't think of too much other reasons why the market would actually have gone up the last couple of weeks, because remember, the jobs report for the Fed was really, really strong. And the U.S. economy is not printing dollars right now. They're essentially just printing jobs. And because of that, the mighty Jerome Powell is probably going to raise interest rates again. And that should actually spell disaster for the crypto world. But instead of spelling disaster, we've actually gone up from 26,000 to about 28,000. And I don't think we're actually going to stop at 28,000. So there has to be buying pressure from behind the scenes. And we haven't really had good buying pressure from behind the scenes in, forever. And suddenly there is. So people could actually be speculating on the fact that the ETF would actually be coming out on the 13th, but I don't think speculation would take it on that high. I do actually think that if BlackRock and Fidelity was starting to buy behind the scenes, that's going to put real upward pressure on the coins, and that would actually get the price to actually go up slowly. Now, BlackRock and Fidelity and the others, they're going to act in a way where it doesn't directly buy the coin up, because obviously if they directly buy the coin up, it's less beneficial to them because they have to buy at a higher price. Now, but they only have a certain amount of time to actually buy the coins before the ETF's accepted, and they don't have very much time, especially if it's next Friday. That's why I kind of tend to think it's January and not next Friday, that they'll actually accept the ETF. But if they are going to accept it like as soon as next Friday, they are going to jump the price again, like either this weekend or early next week. My guess is early next week. So I think if you see prices slowly creeping up, that actually might be signaling that an ETF is coming, because these industry insiders, especially if they just had a meeting, they would actually know this is actually going to happen. And the thing is, like, all the analysts kind of say the same thing. Even the ones from BlackRock, from like the big companies, they're saying we expect it now in sometime within 3 months or something like that. And even the most pessimistic people saying like it's inevitably going to happen probably sometime in the next 3 to 6 months. So my guess is like beginning of next year is probably going to be the latest that they could possibly accept an ETF, because they just can't push it back anymore. And the SEC is already having meetings and discussions about when an ETF does get approved. I think they've tried to delay it for as long as possible. I mean, hell, we've been wanting an ETF since 2018. We've been talking about it since 2018. And, like, we've gone through like 2 presidents now, and we still don't have an ETF. So Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler have been delaying this for a very, very long time. But now with ETH Gate and all that, Ethereum Gate and all that stuff, they've got more stuff on their hands, and they're losing more and more credibility. So their ability to actually deny an ETF is very much put into question now. Like Jay Clayton and William Hinman with that Ethereum Gate stuff has really put Gary Gensler in a really tough position, making him lose basically all kinds of credibility with people. And he should lose credibility because what he's doing is obviously wrong. So the thing is, like, I think there's a more probability than maybe I think that the ETF is actually going to happen this month, and I hope it really does happen. I think it'll for sure happen in January, but this month is what I'm targeting, and that's why I'm going with the $40,000 price, even though it's $13,000 above where we are now, and it requires a 50% rise in price, which could actually seem like a lot due to Bitcoin's inaction in the last couple of months. But if you think about how much how much money an ETF would actually bring in, even in a bearish market or in a sideways market, I do believe it can actually pump us up that much, especially if there is a lot of demand for customers of BlackRock and Fidelity. Remember, these guys together control $17.7 trillion in assets. Even if the Bitcoin and crypto buys, or the Bitcoin buys really, because it's a Bitcoin ETF, is only 1% of that. That's still like over $170 billion. And that much coming in, even over the course of several months, will actually slowly push price up, and probably a little bit faster than we all think. Like, I know a lot of you are saying that, but it's Grayscale that's going to get accepted. That's true. It is Grayscale that might actually get accepted. But if the SEC accepts a Grayscale application, I don't think there's really any way they're going to deny the other applications as well. I mean, it would be really odd if they approved Grayscale, denied BlackRock, denied Fidelity, denied ARK, denied Wisdom Tree, denied Franklin Templeton, and denied all these other ETFs. And the SEC itself probably would rather have BlackRock and Fidelity be in there rather than just have Grayscale be the only ETF. That's probably part of the reason they've been denying Grayscale for so long, until Grayscale finally pwned them in the lawsuit, and they basically have no choice. Like I said, if they find another excuse to deny the ETF from Grayscale, Grayscale can just sue them again. And they would probably lose the case on that grounds too. The more cases they lose, the more credibility they lose. The more cases they lose, the worse it looks for Gary Gensler and the SEC. If they're actually taking commands from the big banks, at this point it doesn't make much sense, because there's huge, gigantic financial institutions like BlackRock, like Fidelity, that are actually wanting ETFs to get approved. So they're actually going against those organizations. I mean, I could see where there's some connections to Goldman Sachs with Gary Gensler, because he was there for so long, telling him to deny the ETF. But there are powerful financial institutions out there that want this ETF, and that I think might actually be buying Bitcoin to support that ETF at this moment, and that might be why the market actually went up so much. Because if these financial institutions are actually buying these bitcoins in large troves, even on the OTC market, the demand is going to easily outstrip the supply. This is something that is that retail may not be able to do right now, just because retail isn't in crypto right now. But something like the big institutions could actually pick up on, and that could be part of why it's moving right now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.